that about our pre-escrow services. So everybody just remember, once you have that listing, really important before we go into escrow, we'll order that preliminary title report and we'll begin working on any liens, red flag items, or issues of concern before opening that escrow. And that ensures for a smooth and worry-free process. For those properties with homeowners associations, we offer an HOA assistant program, and that helps your buyers, your sellers with time dealing with the HOA and the inconvenience of writing that extra check. And so we'll cover the HOA fees, we'll cover them up front and then bill the seller through escrow. And we can also provide you information on any required. And remember, we also offer free notary services for your sellers, that can save them hundreds of dollars. And we can also accommodate overseas notary services. And yeah, so if you have any questions or want more information about that, contact any of us, your sales rep, Michael, myself, Kimberly, or Tom, and we'd be happy to assist. And I'm excited about this class. I actually just made an account on Canva, and I'm going to be following along with you, Justin. Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure. I appreciate you guys so much. And again, those who attend today, I commend you guys for taking a little bit of time out of your schedule to learn something new to implement into your business. So the schedule for the rest of the year is up on EOG University as well. Today we're doing Canva, and we're going to talk about a modern newsletter, different things that you can add into it just to make it look a little bit better, more modern, and things like a QR code, call to actions, right? It's more about perception. QR codes are convenient, super convenient, but then also the perception that you're giving your ideal audience or past clients or whoever you're actually sending this to, giving them the thought that you are a forward-thinking, you're with the modern times, the latest technology, strategies, all that kind of stuff. So it's very cool stuff. And then 1127, YouTube ads for real estate. So we talk a lot about YouTube. I talk a lot about video marketing. And I've had several requests for how do I run ads on YouTube to promote my videos and channel and business. And so you'll be able to, we'll do a walkthrough on that. You'll be able to see how we do that. And then 12.4, we have another Canva class, and we're going to be talking about all the new Canva AI features. There's a lot of different new features over the last several months that have come out. So I'm going to compile that, and we're going to go through each of those. That'll be December 4th. And we're going to end it with the Google Business Profile Ads Masterclass. If you do not have a Google Business Profile yet, or it's not fully optimized, highly, highly recommend. Still the #1 way to generate organic listing leads. Organic listing leads, not paid, but now we're going to be showing you how you can actually advertise or pay to advertise that Google Business Profile so that you can always show up at the top, high ranking in your local market. So again, eoguniversity.com, you can go down there. If you click on one of these gold bars, it expands it, and then you just click the register now link, and that will take you to the Zoom registration. Okay. And of course, like we talked about, video library will take you to that YouTube channel. Highly recommend you go there and subscribe. So I'm going to flip over here, see where we're at. This is the newsletter template that it was pre-created. So I'm going to show you guys how to go in and edit this, some different Canva features that you can actually go in and do, how to save it. We're going to put that QR code in there, all that good stuff. Before I do that, why a newsletter, right? I just got back from a 2-day masterclass that I did in Lake Havasu, and we talked a lot about database. Database or your CRM is your #1 asset in this business, right? If you think of it as a sellable piece of your business, all that data in there, all the years from now until you decide to retire, all that data and information is in there, referrals, everything. And that's valuable. That is something that is sellable in your business. In addition to that, we know that we have to stay in touch with our people, whether it's our past clients, our sphere, people we've met at open houses, all types of different things where we met them goes into that database, and we have to communicate with them on a consistent basis. Quick story, I think I've told it on here before, but we have some new people. I have a realtor friend here in Phoenix. I'm based out of Phoenix, and she's been selling since 2003, I believe, and never took the time to do a database, right? It's a common story in this industry, which is just so crazy. But uh, she didn't ever put together a database for all her past clients in sales and sphere and everyone she's ever met. And so a couple years ago, she came to me and she's like, okay, you've been preaching this for years now. Where do I start? What do I do? So I told her, well, let's just start with the last 2 years of pulling your closed sales, past 2 years. And then we'll go to the third year and then the fourth year, just work your way back there until it makes sense, right? Because at some point, 2003, that person's contact information is probably no good. They don't live there. They don't even remember who you are, right? It's a long time. So we started with the past 2 years, went to three, and I think we went up to five to seven. But through that process, it was devastating to see how many people that she had sold to, even the last 2 to 3 years, ended up selling that house or property again or with somebody, another agent, and they didn't call her. And she has a little bit higher price point. It probably match for this market here in Phoenix. It probably matches more of the norm in SoCal. So we go through and she's devastated. And we're talking 6 figures in GCI lost, right? Probably multiple 6 figures in GCI lost. And so she kind of got the point of this is why it's important, right? Because they didn't remember. We're all consumers. We're all people living our daily lives. And it's not that we think about our realtor every single day. Not that we need to, right? But we need to be consistent on communicating with them. We need to constantly be putting out content or some type of newsletter or something of value for those that are in our sphere or our past clients. So I do encourage you, I know this is a Canva training, but the reason why we communicate to our past clients or database or sphere is so that we can stay top of mind. So that when that opportunity comes or when it aligns to where they're thinking about buying or selling or investment property, right? We're not just helping people buy and sell homes, we're helping them invest in their future, investment properties or right referrals, all that kind of stuff. So that is why you have to out communicate the competition. And this is one way to do it. Is through some type of monthly newsletter, whether it's a physical piece going in the mail or digital, and I'll show you guys how you can save those and the differences between them. So while we jump in, I'm going to share this with you guys. Let me create this. So if you wanted to follow along, you absolutely can. Paste that in there. Okay, so when you click on that, I'll just show you what happens. It will push a free copy into your Canva account. Okay, I mean, it'll push it into a free Canva account. So you don't have to have a paid Canva account if you don't want to, but I'm going to talk to you about some of the benefits of a paid Canva account. You just click edit template and it's going to push you right into what the screen you saw earlier. So I'm going to close out of that one. I'm going to go back to my main one. All right, and this is what it will look like once you get in here. Fully updatable, you can customize everything. Let's talk about a couple things in Canva. There is a free version and a paid version. So I think Yasmin said that she upgraded to the paid version. There's a lot of cool features in the paid version that I think it is worth it. So it's about 12 bucks a month, I think, 13 bucks a month if you do the monthly. If you end up paying for the yearly, you get like a month free in there. But it is worth it with what you can actually do in there. So in the paid version, a couple things is like your headshot. So for instance, if I came over here to my uploads and I uploaded a headshot, let's say it's this one, and I just click once, it's just going to throw it onto the Canva for me or the canvas. Okay, it's just going to throw it on there just like that. Okay, but whoops. See, when you move things around, I'll just show you guys that. So say you want to click this drag, it's going to know certain elements that it can just plop right in there or you can swap out. So if I went in and I wanted to hover over this one, it could swap the photo into that. But I'm going to do Control-Z on my keyboard and it's going to take it right back to where I was. But the reason I put my headshot on here is because one of the paid features is to remove that background, which is something that can modernize your newsletter and not having that extra background there. So with this selected, and I know it's selected because there's a purple box around here. I think it's purple. I could be colorblind, but it looks purple to me. Once that's selected, I can click up here to edit image and scroll down and you see recently used or your background remover. Notice this little crown. Anything in Canva that has that crown next to it means that you have to have the pro version to actually export out of the system. Now, if you don't have the paid version, you can remove the background. However, when you go to save or download or print or anything out of the Canva, it's going to have watermark over it. Okay, it's not going to let you actually use that. But if I click background remover, you're going to notice a little spinning wheel, and it happens fairly quickly. Depending on internet connection. There we go. Okay, so now we can see that that background's been removed. The immediate objects in front have been saved. And this may not be the best example because there's other objects in here, but notice now when I move this around, I can make it smaller. Move it over here, right? So say, for instance, let me move this over here. I didn't want to use this background on here. So I can select this one. I know it's selected because the purple's around it. And now there's a frame behind it as well. I can delete that by either hitting delete on my keyboard with it selected or hitting the little trash can, and now it's removed. And now I can kind of maneuver this one over here if I didn't want the background to be on there. Notice there's some gap up here. Now, just for design best practices, you can always just remove that a little bit lower just so it makes more sense, so it doesn't overlap other elements. Because as you can see, this element overlaps this one. So sometimes you think you're selecting this one, but really, like I'm trying to click it, right? But it may not let you. So just know sometimes the overlapping, you just need to adjust it. But now you can see that this has been set here. And even this little white circle behind there, I can delete that out if I wanted to. And then I can move this over so it's just that. Again, I'd probably use an image that doesn't necessarily have all the extra elements in here, but at least you guys can see how easy and quickly you can remove that background and then adjust it so that it's a good size for where you want it in your actual marketing piece. So let me move this around here. Now, another thing is layers, okay? When you're doing a newsletter or any type of design, certain layers. So if I move this down a little, notice how the name or the text is over that. Each element, when you select it, has an option for position. And this is going to allow you to show, is it going to be in front of the text, behind the text, all that kind of stuff. So if I select my image and I do position, we have more options over here on the left-hand side. Now I can send backward, I can send directly to the back, which will hide it behind all elements. But I just want you guys to see, if I go backwards, whoops, that's not what I wanted, go forward, I'm gonna actually select the text here because I want the text to show behind that. So I'll go backwards, and now you can see the text is still there, but it's being hidden behind this element. And the reason I want to show you guys that is sometimes you have certain elements like this white box or maybe this beige box here. If you somehow this gets pushed to the front, you see how everything is hidden, right? So just know everything in here is on layers. And we're going to talk about that when we share and download as a PDF. And we're going to flatten all those layers, and I'll explain that more later. But just know that these different layers in here, you can send to the back, and then everything appears again, okay? So I'm going to move this back up just so it's over the name. I'm going to click the text, and I just want to make sure that is, whoops. Sometimes if it's not shown here, like in the text, all you have to do, whoops, is hit the three dots, and then you have more options, okay? So if I do position, and then I bring forward, the text is now in front of the laptop there. When you select something like text, you have multiple options up here. Even if you select an image, right? You have more options up here in your little option bar. Now, if I hit the text once, I have all my options up here. I can change colors if I wanted to, just for kicks, I'll change it to that, right? You can change fonts, tons of different fonts. There are a lot more in the paid version. Remember that crown. Anytime you see that crown, you'll be it's the pro version. So you can put it on here in the free version. Just know that when you go to export it, it's gonna have a watermark over it, which is not great. But you have several fonts in here. The other thing with the paid version is you can upload your custom fonts, your own fonts. So for instance, let's see where my uploaded fonts are. These are all fonts that I've uploaded. You have to have the paid version to upload those fonts, all those different fonts, okay? But there's several free fonts in here that work perfectly as well for you. Again, remember when I click this once, it's highlighted. I know it's selected because I have that purple box around me. But if I double click in there, then I can edit the name. So if I come in here, I can type in my name. Now notice that it went to a second line, right? Depending on how much text you're actually putting in there. Couple of options. I can either one, make the font smaller by either just, whoops, by just selecting that box and coming up here and doing the minus until it all goes on one line, just like that. Or let's go back to the larger one. I can select that box and notice I can move these sides. So if I wanted that font to be that size, I can just make this a little bit bigger, puts it on one line, but now you have to readjust it because now it's more off to the right. So I can select it once and move it over. And something in Canva that is very similar to what we had in Photoshop. I've done a lot of designs in the past. I lived in Photoshop daily. And then Canva like just kind of changed the game for everybody, made it super easy. But one of the great things are these alignment lines. So you can kind of align it wherever you want within your piece here. And of course, I want it to be centered. So that looks like it's about centered with the below image. And then if I want it to be centered with both images, you can see the line running through both of those there. I can let go. And now we're a little bit better aligned. Now notice that the Y is covering the G. So maybe we won't want that. So maybe we do want to make it a little bit smaller, just so it doesn't fully cover that, okay? And now we have some space over here, which is okay. But if you wanted to align that, you certainly can. I'm gonna pause for a second. Any questions so far? I know we're going over kind of the basics here, but basics are good. Basic is what we get, how we get things done.
Hey, Justin, I have a question. How do I'm following along, like for your picture, say you want it facing the other way, like you rotate it.
Yeah.
I can't find that button.
So if I click the image, I'm gonna go to flip up here, and I can flip horizontal or vertical. So if I do horizontal, it swaps it.
Ah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Or of course, if you want it vertical for any reason, right? You can always go back and forth. I love that feature. I actually use that a lot. Sometimes when I, just alignment and stuff, personal preferences. But yeah, you can definitely swap those. Same with just these regular images too. So if I select this image down here and I click flip, I could flip horizontal, it could swap it out. Or maybe I wanted this one to be flipped, right? You can just flip those out. Good question.
Thanks, Justin.
Of course. Now, if you wanted to change colors, and then we'll dive into more of the content here, but if we want to change colors, I can select, right? Again, remember, each of these pieces are its individual elements. So you have to kind of, like that's the line, but when you try to select the line, it might select the text. So you just have to make sure you are selecting the correct one. So if I select this background up here, notice that I have this color, and I can change that to anything I wanted to. Obviously, the gold doesn't really go with that, but if we wanted more wintry colors or whatever colors that you want, okay? Over here, you can type in any color by name or color code. So if your brokerage has specific color codes or your branding has specific color codes, you can come in here and just type in either the hex code. This is what we call hex code. It's a hashtag sign with 6 letters or numbers. It's a mixture of those. Or you just type in a color. So if I say, even if I just typed in Christmas, whoops, nope, that one's not coming up. If I typed in red, I will get all these different red tones or color palettes that we can use. Same with blue. I get all these different colors. Maybe I want it darker, right? All that kind of stuff, or a darker green. So I'm gonna go all the way back till we get back to our green that we had right there. But just know that when you select an element that you can swap colors on, so for instance, like this one here is more of a beige, I can change that to maybe if I want it to be that green, right? On there. Now doing that, looking at this visually, it may not work or look correct because we might want to change some of these darker fonts to a white, right? For it to be pop more, okay? Otherwise it may look a little bit off and just kind of half done. So sometimes that contrast of just that super light color, right? And leaving these to be the more darker prominent colors works a lot better and just makes it more visually pleasing. If it looks a little weird to you, you probably don't want to send it out to your clients or have any of that info in there. Okay, Same with font color. So if I select one of these fonts or text boxes, I can change that font color as well. So again, I'm just going to change it to this. Okay. But notice in the bottom left, it says change all. So let's talk about that for a second. Sometimes when you're in Canva and you're working on a design and you change a color, it's going to recognize that across the board on a bunch of other pieces. And if I click change all, it's going to change that green color to that gold on a lot of other pieces that matches that color in text box. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So it can save you a lot of time by doing that, but just know that it's going to try to figure out which ones it needs to change, and it will automatically change those for you. So I'm gonna go back on that one, right? Anything you do in here, you can always, whoops, there we go. Okay, so you have your back and forward button there, or redo. Also, if I change this color, I can also hit Control Z on my keyboard. Control Z across unilaterally will redo or go back on something that you did. So if I do Control Z on my keyboard, boom, changes there. That works for websites that other websites are on, all that kind of stuff. It's just a little shortcut for you guys. Bold, you can make things bold. So if I select within this box, I double clicked and I select just this piece, that piece is bold. If I select this, it is not bold. So if you wanted to add dimension to your design to make it a little bit more professional or looks like it was professionally designed, you can absolutely do that here as well. Same with these little bullets. Now, these bullets aren't part of these text boxes. These bullets are just elements that were added. And if you notice, I can just move this one around. Okay, you can change the color to it, all that kind of stuff. Let's say instead of the bullets, let me go back here. Oops, there we go. Let's say instead of the bullets, you wanted maybe like a check mark. So let's talk a little bit about some different elements here. On the left side of the bar, you have a design that you, obviously what we're in, elements, a lot of different pieces that you can add into this design. So notice I've used checkbox or check marks before. Within this element, if I typed in check mark, I will have several different options. I'm going to have graphics, which most of the time you can change the color of. You're going to have photos, which you are not able to change the color on. It's more of an image. Okay, these are more elements that you can actually change colors on. You have different videos in here that you could use, and then of course a frame. So for this, maybe I'm going to do a box with the check. If I click once, it's going to add it to here. These little dots on each corner will allow you to resize. So if I do that and then move it over here so I can work on it. And if I delete this bullet and I align this more here, maybe make it a little bit smaller, right? Where do I want it to be aligned? Maybe the top of the text. Okay, just like that. But maybe I want to change the color. So I can click it. I can click the color box up here and maybe make it that green. Right? I kind of like that better. So I'm going to go through and delete these and hopefully I can align these. What's great is once you get it to a size, an element or piece to the same size, I can either duplicate just like that. Okay, and it keeps it the same size. You just got to be careful because it might get a little small. And then you can move it down and really align it with the top one. So it's all aligned with the top check mark. I can let go. And then another option, instead of clicking and doing the little duplicate button, I can do Control Copy on my keyboard and then Control V on my keyboard, and it will give me another one here. And this one, we're going to go all the way down. And you can see it's aligned, right? We have those 3 lines there. So it's aligned with the check marks or check boxes that are above. And then you can let go and you can just continue the process. So if I click this, duplicate, and then, oops, Control Z to undo. Sometimes clicking out of the element to deselect everything kind of helps the system know. And then I can move this down. Do there, right? Okay, so now we have these actual checkboxes instead of just the little bullets there. Depends on what you want or what you're looking for. But know that there's tons of different things in here that you could search for. You could do arrows. Again, shapes and graphics, you can typically change the colors of. We're going to do one of these arrows when we add the QR code. Photos, you can't change the color of. And then, of course, there's always frames and videos and all that kind of good stuff. Even audio here. Okay, so that's a couple of the different pieces that you can do there. Now, remember when we uploaded our headshot, you can always upload anything you want to your Canva account by just going to uploads. You do uploads, you can drag and drop, or however you need to get it in there. You can drag and drop from a desktop and plop it in here. However you need to add that information in there. So again, for instance, if I added this headshot in there, but I didn't want their background, I just go up to edit image, click background remover. It just takes a few moments for that to actually happen. And then bam, right? Again, makes it look a little bit more professional without having that background in there. And then you have clear space to be able to move them around. So if I want to delete this one out of here and maybe just add them here, right? This is a team here in Arizona, and you could do it that way there as well. Now, notice sometimes it looks a little random with like the cutoff legs, right? Typically, you'd want to put that over something like here. And give me a second. So try to place it in the background image. So I'm going to do Control Z on my computer, and it removes it from that background and adds it there. Now you see how their legs are kind of still shows that they're cut off there. So if I click this element, this green, I want to bring that green forward so it covers the legs so it doesn't look like they're cut off. I can do position and I can bring forward. It's going to do it for the text, unfortunately, but I can go back and add that. And you see how now this is behind. So if I go back, whoops, and I just select this one, their image, and I do position, and then maybe I can go back there, one more, okay? So I just have to bring this text to the front. Obviously, this was not a great place to put this, but I just want you guys to see sometimes when you have that weird cut on certain images, like a headshot or something, or an image you want to use, you can always kind of put a bar or something in front of them. So for instance, if I brought this down, and now I need to bring the position forward, I can always maybe duplicate something like this line. Control C, Control V, and then move that up and place it exactly where that one is. Okay. And then I can kind of move them around if I wanted to. And then it's kind of hidden that way. Okay. So again, that's just kind of a tip or a trick for you to be able to go in and hide that info. Okay, and then of course, right, when you guys, I shared the template with you, but if you want to go in, you just double click in and change any information that you want to change it. If this isn't great for you, you can simply go in and change it. Same with phone number and all that. I can go like this and update info. I can either change the font size, or for this, I'm going to just make this text box bigger, click out, and then move it over and align it a little bit better, right? Sometimes capitalizing the first letter in a web domain or even email addresses is easier for consumers to read. Okay, so I always try to think of ways that just it's easier for them to digest it and take a look at it. Now, in this template, you can obviously show a just listed, just sold, something like that. It gives you all the different element pieces. Sometimes agents I find don't want to do that and they'd rather just have like a QR code. So if that's the case, I can click this image, hit delete, delete all that. Delete all this text. Sometimes too, if you click over here and drag, you can select multiple elements. And I'll show you guys that in a second. Don't let me forget, because that's a great way, to group different elements and keep the alignment. So I'm just going to continue to come in here and delete that. Okay, so say we didn't want to use that just listed, we want to use a QR code. Well, first, how do we even create a QR code? So the easiest way and the best way that I like to is actually qrcode-monkey.com. qrcode-monkey.com. Okay, and you're just going to find the URL that you want to drive the traffic to. So when someone scans that QR code, where is it going to take them? For today's example, I'm going to show you guys HomeBot. It's a lender-sponsored tool, a great way to generate leads, beautiful database, and consumers love this. They have a 50% engagement rate and open rate in their emails, which is phenomenal. Once you're in there, okay, you can always reach out to your lender to see if they can sponsor this for you. But once you're in the account, you get logged in. If you click Get Leads up here, it includes a free landing page for seller leads and even buyer leads. But I can click preview page and it's going to take me to the new tab. And this is what the landing page would look like. Okay, it's all branded to you. And I could take this link and create a QR code so that when a consumer comes in and enters their info, that goes into my home bot. Now, another thing that you guys can use is maybe an IDX feed on your website, or you're just going to create your website as a QR code. So like, for instance, if I was going to do justintaylor.com, I can just type in justintaylor.com into the QR code generator, and that's where it can go. So for instance, if I just wanted my website, I could do that, right? But I'm going to paste in this link. Again, this works for any link. I can paste my link in there. I can then go down to set colors. And say I wanted to change the colors or do a gradient, I absolutely can do that as well. So for instance, if I just wanted it all to be black, I can click create QR code down here. And this is the all black version. If I wanted a gradient, maybe I wanted to match the newsletter colors, I can come in here, click this element and see what this green color is by just hovering. And I'm going to copy that color code. Okay, this is a hex code or a color code. I can copy that. I'm going to go back into our QR code. I'm going to paste that here, right? Because we're going to really keep our branding on for December. And you see how it kind of makes it gradient? It's kind of beautiful in there. So it'll look good in the flyer as well. It's all branding. Now, you can always add a logo if you wanted to in the center of the QR code. For instance, if I was taking it to my LinkedIn, I can always do that. You guys can see what that looks like. Or if you wanted to remove the background behind the logo, I can do that. And it now makes it a white box behind. Okay, I use these kind of in my listing presentations for them to scan for my social media platforms, website, all that kind of stuff, Google reviews. But I'm going to remove the logo. I'm going to drag this dial all the way over and click create QR code. And I got the one that I want. PNG is typically going to be the best way to download. Now, if you're working with like a designer to have a QR code on a for sale sign or anything like that, you can absolutely choose one of these. But I'm going to click download PNG. It's going to download it to my computer. And then, perhaps. Okay, so downloaded there. And I'm going to go back into Canva and I'm going to go to upload files and I can just find it in my downloads. There's that QR code. It's going to upload it in here. And I'm going to scroll down and I want to place it here. So I can either click and drag. Remember, be careful though, because it's going to try to place it in where thinks you're trying to put it. So you can either click and drag and drop and then just kind of resize. You just got to be careful with those other elements. Or you can just click one time and resize a little bit to kind of get it where you want it to go. And it can kind of go down here. Okay, something like that. Now, there's our QR code. It is active. It will work. Now, if I select it, I can always add some other elements to this as well to make it a little bit more dimensional, like a backdrop or a shadow. So if I click edit image, I have multiple options for different images. Okay, so you can come down here, see filters, different tools, mockups, all that. But I'm going to scroll down to shadows. And just know, anything you guys click in here, you can always just search in the boxes. So if I do shadow, hit enter, shadows is going to pop at the top if you don't want to scroll. And for this example, I want to maybe do a drop shadow. And let's see what that looks like. I click it and bam, now we have a nice, beautiful shadow behind. Again, gives it a little bit more dimension and makes it look modern. Okay, kind of adds that beautiful touch in there. Now we want to add a little bit of text in here as well. So I can either just go over here on the left side and click the text box and add text in here. And based on the brand kit, if you paid for the pro version, you uploaded fonts to this, it will match that font of what you uploaded. Okay, so you can just click and add different sizes, but you can also change all those. So I can click and drag over. And then in the upper options box up here, I can change font sizes, all that kind of stuff. Another thing that you can do is if you just want to match one of these other fonts, I can just select this, let's say this one, duplicate or do Control-C on your laptop, and then you can have a new text box there that matches. So for instance, I can type in here, scan to see your home value today. Whoops. Maybe we just do this. All right, and then I have maybe the box here. different alignment, seeing what size you want to do. And then remember we talked about an arrow. So I'm going to click over here to elements on the left-hand side. I can choose one of these graphics or shapes. Remember these two you can change colors on. So if I just see all, and I can select which one I want. If you're going to do this, more on social media, you can have an animation. Obviously, animations won't work when it's printed, but you have different options here. So if I select maybe this one, I click once. Remember, it's just going to plop it on the sheet. It is white, very hard to see. So I'm going to actually change that color to this green. I can change the size of it by doing the corners. Drag over, and I can also turn it as well. So I can use this little, wherever you want to turn it. And to Yasmin's question earlier about flipping, if you needed to flip the arrow, you just click flip, and now it's on the other side. So that's a trick too. If you ever need it, you're like, the arrow just won't point the right way. You can always just flip it on there. So I'm going to turn this here. We're going to make it a little bit smaller, something like that. Okay. Matches all the branding and everything. Questions? Somebody on mute. And again, it doesn't have to be this color. I just kind of like to keep things, if you're gonna stick to your brand colors, I love it. Just make sure, design wise, that it kind of flows, right? All the different colors that are in there. So now somebody can scan that there. Again, this doesn't have to go to their home value. It can go to your website. It can go to a blog post. It can go to a YouTube video. Love QR codes for videos because it's a way that you can take a digital piece and put it into a physical form. So if you're mailing these out or handing them out at open houses or wherever, they can now just quickly scan and watch your latest video. Any questions on the QR code portion? Trying to make sure I don't miss anything here. Okay. All right, so again, a lot of this content you can change out. You can see up here, I changed this up here to the Taylor report when I was actively selling. That's what I call it, the Taylor report. You can always have it here too. Okay, kind of branded to you. Doesn't have to be December newsletter. You can get creative with it. You don't have to be so traditional. But sometimes when you're branding it more to yourself, it looks really, really good. So maybe it's like issue 1 or, you can change all this different text in here. If I select this line, I can change the color of the line if I want it to be white, stand out a little bit more, or you can keep it that other color. Okay. Again, say each piece is an element as well. Notice that each piece is a different element, which is kind of crazy in there. Let's talk about the grouping. That's what I want to talk about a little bit earlier. Grouping elements together keeps them aligned because these are actual individual pieces placed to create this one actual item. So if I click ungroup and select out, I now can drag these away. You see how that's one piece? These are each one piece to actually make it part of that. So if I go all the way back, and it's all grouped together, you see how it's much better? So let me give you an example. So let's say you wanted this to stay aligned, or you wanted these elements to stay aligned, because if you're going to make them smaller or bigger, you wanted it to be proportionate. So by selecting one, I can then hit shift on my keyboard and select another. You see, I start selecting and then select another, still holding shift. And now all 3 of those are grouped. I can click group. And now when I move them, they're all together. Okay, which is super cool. And for instance, if I wanted to now make it smaller, they all resize together. Okay, so that's why grouping is super powerful. And I actually liked it. Like something like this, I would probably group together. So if I select once, just be careful that before you start grouping or selecting, you always want to deselect everything by hitting this little gray area. So I don't accidentally group this with this. So I'm going to hit shift and I can select each of these pieces here. I can click group. Now I don't have to worry about accidentally moving one of those. They all move together, or I can resize them all together. All right, so let me come back here, make that normal. One of these. Beautiful. Okay. All right, so from there, I'm going to scroll down to the second page now. Of course, local events and all that stuff are super important. You can always swap out things. It's less about what is in the newsletters or content that we're putting out and more about consistency. So again, the masterclass I did last week in Lake Havasu, we talked a lot about content. We've talked about content marketing a week or two ago on our EOG trainings. And it's less about actually what's in the content. Of course, you want to make sure that it's valuable, right? It's important for whoever's going to be reading it, but you want to just be more consistent. And one of the pieces is going to be your market update. And one of the benefits of working with EOG and reaching out to your sales representative like Yasmin or Michael or Bernadette, Kimberly or Tom is they can sign you up for something called Altos reports. So you get these weekly reports based on the zip code city that you give them, and every week you get an update on active market data. So for example, it looks something like this. It's the example that Kimberly sent me this morning. And you can type in any city, state, or zip code and be able to get a bunch of data from here. But these pieces are great to take screenshots of. You can always include these in the newsletter as well. But for this example, you can just swap out your data. It doesn't really matter where you get the data. One thing I see common with agents is everyone likes to pull their data from different spots. So maybe it's your association, your MLS, Altos, whoever that you prefer to use the data. But you can double click in here. Notice that these are all grouped. Okay. But when you double click in, or when you click once, and you double click into that number, you can swap out that number. So sold homes won't be in here won't be in here because this is actually only active data, but let's say we want to do median list price, right? 3.4 mil, or any of these different items on here. Maybe average days on market, 88. So I can come in here and instead of 12, I do 88. Right, if I wanted to switch here, median sales price, see how it just swaps it out? You can change this to however you want and swap out your data. Now, it might be a good practice to actually disclose where that data is coming from, right? Because there's no disclosure there. So something that I'm going to do is actually just select this text because I don't want it to be super bold or anything. I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to pull that down here. I'm going to make it longer so it's all on one line. And I'm going to put, let's say, December data provided by Altos, something like that. Obviously, whatever's compliant and legal in your market, but I just want to show you guys, I would probably disclose it in here. And again, I'm going to use these alignment lines to make sure that it is all aligned perfectly. So I'm going to let go. And of course, if I select, you can make it smaller if you want it to be smaller, bigger, however you want it to be. Okay. But it is a good idea to disclose where that is. Same thing that down here. Remember the image of what we dealt with up here? If you wanted to move that down, I could just copy and then select and drag down here. And let's say I didn't want it to be in the little circle. Again, remember, see this little element? It's overlapping this one. So you just got to be careful. I'm going to delete all these. Delete. And then I can move this down and maybe add it there. See how more modern that looks with no background? It's not in a circle. It looks a lot better there. And of course, text, you can just double click in to change out any of your information in here, anything that you wanted to swap out. All right, I'm going to pause there. I know we have 10 minutes left. Any questions that you may have in Canva, newsletters, or anything that we've talked about today? Hopefully there's something in here that you guys can take away, or even just a template and actually get something out to your clients or database this month, next month, and put it on your schedule to consistently communicate with them. Remember, out-communicate the competition. One of the things we talk about is the fear of annoying people. But if we're providing valuable information that's pertinent to their local market, more than just real estate, right? New businesses that are opening up, or new attractions, or the best hiking trails, or best beaches, parks, whatever it may be, right? Think of local things that will actually bring value to those families and people that you're trying to work with, as opposed to just buy and sell with me, right? It's you gotta have a good mixture within that. Any questions in general? No, it's a small group today.
I have a question. We have
Yes.
more than one letter to pick from though, right?
In Canva, yeah. Like I just wanted to give you guys this solid
Right.
template, but if you
Okay.
wanted to go in Canva and search other designs, I can go home here
Mm-hmm.
and I can type in here real estate newsletter, or you can just do newsletter. And there are several templates
Okay.
in here that you can use, several templates. If you wanted one that was pretty much already done for you or just looks a little better, you can always get templates or purchase templates on Etsy.com.
Mhm.
That has a lot of really good designs for less than $10, like a really good price that you can just reuse over and over again. But there are several templates in here. So if I just select, whatever it may be, let me see if there's one that looks good. If I just clicked into this, remember, some of these may be pro, and I click customize this template, and then it pulls it in. I can always rename it up here. And then just like what we've been doing, you can come in here and swap out any information you wanted to.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Justin, I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding the QR code monkey, how many codes can you get, or do they charge like if you start using more of them?
Nope, unlimited, all free.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You don't even have to create a login.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I
Thank
love it.
you.
Absolutely. Real
Okay.
quickly, before I let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your week, up here in the upper right corner, let's talk about a couple ways you can save. So if you click share and you scroll down, you have a download option. If I click download, it defaults to PNG. Just know PNG typically is the best way to post on social media or on the internet. There's JPG here as well, or JPEG, but this is going to be best for social media sharing and all that kind of stuff. Or if you're going to put this image into an email or something like that, right? You create this and you can insert it as images in an email platform. So share, download, PNG. I'd keep it the size it's at, and then you can download both those pages here. Now, know that if I select all pages, it's going to download it in a zip file, okay, because it's putting them all together. But if you just want to download one image, I can just click this here, done, and it will download the image and not in a zip file. That makes sense. So if there's more than one image to it or piece to it, it will download it into a zip file. Now, let's say you wanted to print this. So if I scroll down, you're not going to download PNG and print PNG. You're going to change PNG to PDF print. Okay, PDF print. If you're just going to email it, PDF standard will work. But PDF print, you're going to want a flattened image. So you see all these different elements in here? These are all different layers. So sometimes when you have several layers like that, it can be difficult for the printer to recognize. And it has all these different elements. So some pieces may be cut off or something like that. So if you flatten image or flatten PDF, it's going to turn all of these elements basically into one piece. So the printer will know right away, these are the edges, all that good stuff. So flatten image, and then of course, all pages, and you're probably going to want to change it to CMYK, which is best for printing. And you can click download, and it will download your PDF together. Even if it's several pages, because it's a PDF, it'll be in one PDF. And PDFs, especially with this size, may take a little bit longer to download than an actual PNG. Do. Come on. Awesome. Okay, so again, under share, download, and then you have several options there to download. Now, hopefully you guys that are in the call got the template link. Again, that's yours. You can edit it however you want to in your Canva account and change anything. Just make sure that you add it to your calendar, you add it to the list of things that you're doing, that you are communicating to your database on a consistent basis. This is only one piece of it. So, is it monthly? Is it every 2 weeks? It should at least be monthly. Sometimes I say quarterly, but it's very competitive out there. So monthly, all your people, everyone you know should be getting some type of communication from you every single month. And with that, I hope you guys took something away today. Again, with every training, there's a lot of information on it. This is recorded, like Yasmin said, so if you can always go to our YouTube channel and rewatch it. But if something resonated with you or was interesting, jot down that 1, 2, or 3 things, and that's what you go and execute on. That's what you take action on. Just don't take in the information, actually act on it so that you can grow your business. And hopefully we will see you guys in escrow very, very soon. Otherwise, we will see you guys in the next training. Remember, you can go to escrow or eoguniversity.com and see that training schedule. And we will see you in the next one. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great week, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.